This is a beanie I made with some rather unusual leftover yarn that I had, and I thought I'd just share how I made it. Here is the label of the yarn. It is called Berger du Nord. It is made in France. I don't think it's available anymore, and it is composed of 55% linen, 25% cotton and 20% viscose. And I was after some yarn to make a beanie that would be suitable for warmer weather. This yarn is very unusual, as the thickness of the yarn varies hugely. In some areas it is extremely thin, and in other areas it is extremely chunky. So for the brim of this beanie I decided to go for a 6mm conventional crochet hook, and for the main body of the beanie I decided to go for an 8mm Tunisian crochet hook. So what I'm going to do is to chain 10 to create a foundation chain for a back loop only single crochet. That's US terminology, ribbed brim. And as you can see, I'm leaving a good length of yarn, well over 18 inches, to join the edges of the fabric together. So to create a foundation chain of 10, I'm going to chain 11 because the last chain is the turning chain. So to keep this video relatively short, I'm just putting a link to the video on how to do a single crochet rib stitch above. This beanie is to fit a man's head, and the circumference of that will be around 24 inches. So I'm going to aim to create a length of brim about 19 inches. The reason being, rib stitch is very stretchy and will easily stretch to 24 inches and beyond, with a length of 19 inches. So my plan is, once the brim has been completed, I'm going to use the top of the brim to create a foundation row for Tunisian crochet by bringing up loops all along the edge of the brim, and then do Tunisian simple stitch until the depth of the fabric is approximately 6 inches. And then I'm going to do a gentle reduction until the top of the beanie to create a nice dome. The alternative, of course, would be just to do a rectangle of fabric and then cinch the top. But the advantage of gradually reducing the length of the rows is that you use less yarn. It creates a nicer looking end product, and also it is rather quicker than doing rows of the same length to the required depth of the beanie. And the final depth I'm aiming for is between 9 and 9.5 inches. And here is the finished brim. The length, as you can see, is 19 inches, and the depth of the brim is 3 inches. Now the brim has been completed, I'm going to use this 8mm Tunisian crochet hook to bring up loops to create a Tunisian crochet foundation row, so I can then continue doing the Tunisian crochet simple stitch for the main body of the beanie. So this is the first loop. I'm going to continue bringing up loops until I reach the end of the brim. This is a 14-inch long hook, and it is more than long enough for a brim that is 19 inches long, because the loops will of course push together. I'm now approaching the end of the brim, and after I've pulled up the final loop, I shall count the number of loops on the hook, and this will be the number of stitches. And the number of loops or stitches is 68, so now I'm chaining 1, marking the place for the last stitch in the forward pass, and now I'm going to do a Tunisian crochet return pass to complete the Tunisian crochet foundation row. And now with one loop left on the hook, I'm going to start the forward pass for the Tunisian simple stitch. And to keep the video short, there is a link on how to do the Tunisian simple stitch above. And I shall continue doing rows of Tunisian simple stitch until the fabric is approximately 6 inches deep. I shall describe how I did the reduction in the information below. After reducing every row, there are 10 loops left on the hook. Now I'm going to do a return pass and then slip stitch along until the end of the row. And that is the fabric for the beanie completed, and all that remains is to attach both edges of the fabric and cinch the top of the beanie. The way I'm going to do that is to do slip stitches from the bottom right up to the top. And this is the end result, making great use of a very unusual yarn to create a rather comfortable, light beanie. And this is me modelling it, blending in perfectly with the interior of the caravan.